Refreshing. One little soda pop. You're all I can
Michael and John can leave.
I've been very fortunate to grow up with the sport of tennis.
A thunderclap just ripped through the tennis universe. On a night meant for carols, candles, and quiet family dinners, a story detonated that no one had on their holiday bingo card. Imagine this for a second. A 20-year-old phenom captures a historic gold medal, earns well over $1 million in a single season, and then makes a move so powerful that even the sport's immortals stop and stare. This isn't fiction. This isn't a feel-good rumor floating around social media. This is unfolding right now, on Christmas Eve 2025, and the emotional aftershocks are being felt from Asia to Europe to the Americas. What you're about to hear isn't just about money or trophies. It's about loyalty, sacrifice, and a choice that has reminded the entire sports world why stories like this still matter. Stay with me, because what happened next turned a heartwarming moment into one of the most jaw-dropping bombshells tennis has seen in decades. But before we dive headfirst into this chaos, there's something that deserves to be said out loud. This channel just crossed a milestone that once felt like a distant dream. 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 people who decided that was worth clicking, worth listening to, worth debating in the comments. That number isn't just a statistic. It represents conversations, disagreements, shared excitement, and a growing community of fans who live and breathe this sport. If this story proves anything, it's that we're only at the beginning. So thank you, genuinely. Now let's get into what has everyone emotional, stunned, and talking at the same time. December 24th, 2025. While most households were busy with wrapping paper and holiday playlists, the tennis world was blindsided by not one but two massive revelations that had nothing to do with festivities. At the center of it all stands a young woman who has been quietly preparing for greatness while carrying a deeply personal promise. Her name is Alex Eala, and if that name hasn't been locked into your memory yet, it's about to be. To understand why this moment feels so different, you have to look at the modern sports landscape. We're living in an era defined by excess. Every week brings another viral post of a young athlete flaunting a supercar, a designer watch dripping in diamonds, or a mansion tour that feels more like a flex than a celebration. Success has become loud, predictable, and almost numbingly repetitive. Scroll long enough and it all blurs together. Expensive toys, private jets, champagne showers. It's not wrong to enjoy success, but the shock value is gone. That's exactly why what Alex Eala did hit people straight in the chest. Because she didn't follow the script. She didn't post a glossy photo shoot or unveil a luxury purchase for herself. Instead, the newly crowned Southeast Asian Games gold medalist and breakout star of the 2025 WTA season quietly spent $1.65 million of her prize money on a single purchase. A house. A substantial, beautiful home worth every cent. And here's the part that has brought grown fans to tears. It wasn't for her own comfort. It was for her parents. Let that sink in. A 20-year-old athlete at the very peak of her earnings surge, fresh off the most successful year of her career, chooses to turn her biggest financial achievement into security for the people who raised her. No announcement. No branded hashtags. No public celebration. Just keys, paperwork, and reportedly a flood of tears on Christmas Eve morning. This wasn't an impulsive decision either. Sources close to the Eala family have revealed that this was a vow Alexandra made long before the spotlight ever found her. Back when she was grinding through junior circuits, sleeping in modest hotels, and chasing dreams that felt impossibly far away, she promised herself that if she ever truly made it, the first thing she would do is give back to her parents. And now, years later, she's honored that promise in the loudest quiet way possible. To grasp the weight of this gesture, you need to understand what her parents invested. Mike and Riza Eala didn't just cheer from the sidelines. They risked everything. Tennis is one of the most expensive sports in the world. Coaching fees, international travel, tournament entries, equipment, fitness staff, recovery programs, and countless unseen expenses pile up year after year with no guarantee of success. This isn't a sport where talent alone opens doors. It demands relentless financial commitment. The Eala family chose belief over comfort. They sacrificed stability so their daughter could chase excellence. So when Alexandra handed them a home worth more than $1.5 million, it wasn't just a gift. It was validation. It was proof that every sacrifice, every anxious wait, every tough decision had meaning. It was her way of saying, "You were right to believe." For many fans, that alone would have been enough to crown this as one of the most touching stories of the year. But the universe wasn't finished. Because while news of the house purchase spread like wildfire, another announcement dropped just hours later that turned a beautiful narrative into a historic one. This time, it involved a name that commands instant respect. Steffi Graf. 22 Grand Slam titles. Former world number 1. The only player in history to complete the Golden Slam by winning all 4 majors and Olympic gold in a single year. A legend who has spent most of her retirement far from headlines, living quietly with Andre Agassi and their family. Steffi Graf is not known for exaggeration. She doesn't hand out praise casually. She doesn't attach herself to trends. And yet, she released a statement about Alex Eala that sent shockwaves through the sport. She called Alex the brightest diamond of the next generation. Not a future star. Not a promising talent. The brightest diamond. When someone like Graf speaks with that level of certainty, the entire tennis world listens. And that was only the beginning. Because reports began surfacing almost immediately that this wasn't just admiration. Graf has reportedly committed to a 5-year mentorship with Alex Eala. 5 years. Not a symbolic meeting. Not a single training session. A long-term partnership between one of the greatest players of all time and a young woman from the Philippines who just changed her family's life forever. This is unprecedented. Graf has had countless opportunities to coach or mentor rising stars over the years and has consistently declined. Her decision to step in now sends a clear message. Something extraordinary is happening here. And with that, the story moved from emotional to era-defining. This Christmas Eve didn't just deliver a feel-good moment. It may have marked the true beginning of a new chapter in tennis history. The magnitude of Steffi Graf stepping forward cannot be overstated, because history has already shown us what happens when legends decide to invest themselves in the future. Tennis has a long memory, and fans know the pattern. When Boris Becker joined Novak Djokovic's camp, Djokovic transformed from an elite contender into a ruthless champion who dominated an era. When Ivan Lendl aligned himself with Andy Murray, the British star finally shattered his Grand Slam ceiling and rewrote his legacy. These partnerships weren't cosmetic. They changed mindsets, sharpened instincts, and hardened competitors for the moments that decide careers. But Steffi Graf exists on an even rarer tier. She didn't just win titles, she defined excellence for an entire generation. For her to emerge from a deliberately quiet retirement and choose Alex Eala as her project is nothing short of a coronation. This isn't casual approval. This is a signal flare sent across the tennis world that says, pay attention, because this player is different. The timing of this announcement only amplifies its impact. Just days before Christmas, Alex Eala delivered one of the most meaningful performances in Philippine tennis history. The 33rd Southeast Asian Games in Thailand weren't just another regional competition. For the Philippines, they represented decades of waiting, hoping, and falling just short. The last time a Filipino woman stood atop the singles podium was back in 1999. 26 years passed without gold. Generations of players tried, came close, and walked away with silver or bronze that carried equal parts pride and heartbreak. When Alexandra stepped onto the hard courts at the National Tennis Development Center in Nonthaburi, she wasn't just playing for herself. She was carrying the weight of history, expectation, and national pride. The final was supposed to be tense. Her opponent, Thailand's Mananka Saini, had the home crowd, the momentum, and the emotional fuel of playing on familiar ground. What she didn't have was an answer. Alexandra dismantled the match with clinical precision. The scoreline, 6-1, 6-2, only hints at how complete the performance was. From the opening rally, Alex dictated pace, controlled angles, and refused to give her opponent any foothold. Playing against a hostile crowd is one of the hardest tests in sports. The noise is relentless, every error amplified, every success muted. Alexandra didn't shrink. She thrived. By the final games, even the Thai fans were applauding her shot-making. That's when dominance crosses into respect. That performance alone would have been enough to elevate her profile, But Steffi Graf likely saw more than just clean winners and efficient footwork. She saw composure. She saw emotional control. She saw a competitor who doesn't panic when the moment grows bigger. And when reports of Alexandra's Christmas Eve gesture surfaced, when Graf learned that this same young woman quietly used her prize money to secure her parents' future, the picture became complete. Talent can be taught and refined. Character cannot. That kind of grounding is rare, especially in a sport that introduces fame and money at a young age. Graf has watched countless prodigies flame out because success arrived before perspective. In Alex Eala, she appears to have found someone built differently. The 2025 season explains where the money came from, but it also explains why the hype isn't manufactured. Alexandra didn't stumble into success. She earned it point by point. Her breakout run at the Miami Open earlier this year announced her arrival to the global audience. Miami is unforgiving. The draw is stacked, the conditions are brutal, and the pressure mirrors that of a Grand Slam. Alexandra marched through higher-ranked opponents with fearless intent, refusing to play like someone grateful just to be there. That run alone forced analysts to rewrite projections. Then came her first WTA 125 title, a confirmation that she could close tournaments, not just surprise opponents. Win after win piled up against players with far more tour experience, players who were supposed to expose her youth. Instead, they found themselves outworked and outplayed. Prize money accumulated steadily, tournament by tournament, until Alexandra crossed the $1.65 million mark for the season. For many young athletes, that number would trigger a lifestyle shift. Bigger apartments, luxury purchases, visible upgrades. Alexandra's focus never wavered. She wasn't spending. She was planning. While others chased immediate gratification, she stayed locked on a promise she made years earlier. That discipline is terrifying for her rivals. Because if she can delay reward in life, she can certainly do it on court. She can grind through long rallies, endure tough losses, and stay committed to long-term goals. That's the mindset of champions who last, not flash stars who fade. Steffi Graf's brightest diamond label is both a blessing and a burden. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and Alexandra is about to experience more of it than ever before. Every match in 2026 will be dissected. Every loss will spark doubt. Every win will be measured against impossible expectations. The media will follow her relentlessly, cameras searching the player's box for Graf's presence, headlines framing every result as proof or contradiction of the legend's endorsement. That pressure can crush players who aren't prepared. But Alexandra has already shown she performs best when stakes are highest. The SEA Games final wasn't just another match. It was a referendum on a nation's patience. She passed with authority. That's not luck. That's wiring. The impact of this moment extends beyond Alexandra herself. For Philippine tennis, this is transformative. For decades, the sport has been dominated by Europe, North America, and Australia, with recent breakthroughs from parts of Asia. The Philippines has waited for its global icon, someone young players can point to and say, that could be me. Alexandra Eala is rapidly becoming that symbol. Every time she steps onto a Grand Slam court, millions will watch, invested not just in the result but in the representation. Graf's endorsement will echo far beyond tennis circles. It will appear in sponsorship pitches, development programs, and grassroots initiatives. But its power lies in authenticity. Graf does not lend her name lightly. When she speaks, the sport listens. As the 2026 season approaches, the narrative has shifted completely. The Australian Open is around the corner, and Alexandra will no longer be a curiosity. She will be a storyline. Journalists will ask about the house, the mentorship, the pressure, the expectations. She will have to answer all of it while doing the hardest thing in sports, winning matches. Early rounds at majors are traps. Rust, nerves, opponents with nothing to lose. If Alexandra builds momentum, a deep run could cement her status. If she stumbles, critics will pounce, questioning whether the hype arrived too soon. But history suggests she thrives in chaos. She has never needed perfect conditions to succeed. Now, with Steffi Graf guiding her through the mental and strategic storms, she has something most players never get. Perspective from someone who has stood at the very top and survived it. This 5-year commitment matters. It signals a long-term vision, not a quick payoff. By 2030, Alexandra will be 25, right in the prime window for women's tennis dominance. Graf wouldn't attach herself to a timeline like that without believing Grand Slam success is realistic. If it happens, if Alexandra fulfills this trajectory, Christmas Eve 2025 will be remembered as the turning point. The night when a promise was kept, a legend stepped forward, and a future was officially set in motion. The final layer of this story is what truly separates it from the usual rise and fall sports narratives, because what Alexandra Eala did on Christmas Eve wasn't just emotional or symbolic, it was strategic in a deeply human way. In a sport where distractions derail careers as often as injuries do, Alex removed one of the biggest emotional weights an athlete can carry. By securing her parents' future, she freed her own mind. There is a unique kind of peace that comes when the people who sacrificed everything for you no longer have to worry. That peace translates directly into performance. Champions talk about it all the time, the ability to step onto the court without fear, guilt, or unfinished business pulling at their focus. Alex has already taken care of what matters most to her. Everything else from here is pure ambition. That is why the rest of the WTA Tour should be paying very close attention. This move sent an unspoken message through locker rooms across the world. Alexandra Eala is not chasing validation. She is not chasing lifestyle upgrades. She is chasing legacy. Respect inside the locker room matters more than fans realize. Players talk. They notice how others carry themselves, how they treat people, what they value. Alex's decision instantly elevated her reputation among peers. When officials see a player known for professionalism and humility, it affects trust. When crowds learn your story, it affects support. In tight matches, those intangibles can tilt momentum by inches, and inches decide careers. This story also landed at a time when many fans were desperate for something real. Sports have felt increasingly commercial, increasingly distant from everyday life. On a year filled with uncertainty and fatigue, this Christmas Eve moment cut through cynicism. It reminded people that success doesn't have to erase gratitude. That ambition doesn't have to come at the expense of character. Alex didn't lecture anyone about values. She simply lived them. And that authenticity is why the reaction has been so powerful. It's why fans who don't even follow tennis shared this story. It's why parents saw their own sacrifices reflected back at them. It's why young athletes saw a blueprint that doesn't involve losing yourself to win. Now the spotlight intensifies. Heading into 2026, Alexandra Eala is no longer just a rising star. She is a symbol. That brings opportunity, but it also brings relentless scrutiny. Every endorsement deal will be analyzed. Every coaching decision will be questioned. Every loss will be magnified. This is where Steffi Graf's presence becomes invaluable. Graf has lived through global obsession, tabloid pressure, and the impossible expectation of winning every time. She understands how to tune out noise, how to build routines that protect mental health, and how to peak when it matters most. Her mentorship won't just be about backhands and footwork. It will be about sustainability. About teaching Alex how to stay hungry without burning out. About knowing when to push and when to step back. That wisdom is priceless. The 5-year timeline is especially telling. This isn't about quick returns or headlines. This is about shaping a career arc. By 2030, Alexandra will be entering the age range where most great champions consolidate their dominance. Graf clearly believes Alex can be there, competing not just for titles but for history. That belief alone shifts how tournaments prepare for her. Opponents will study her more intensely. Coaches will design game plans specifically to disrupt her rhythm. That's the tax of being taken seriously. And it's a tax Alex appears ready to pay. The Southeast Asian Games gold medal now feels like a prologue, not a climax. It was the proof of concept. The demonstration that she can carry expectation and deliver. The Philippines hasn't just gained a champion. It has gained momentum. Youth participation will spike. Investment will follow. Courts will fill with kids who saw Alex lift gold and thought, why not me? That ripple effect is how sports cultures change. One player opens a door, and suddenly an entire generation walks through it. Internationally, Alexandra's rise adds fresh energy to the women's game. Fans are always searching for the next compelling narrative, the next player whose journey feels authentic. Alex offers that in abundance. She isn't manufactured. She isn't chasing controversy. Her story is rooted in family, sacrifice, and steady growth. That resonates far beyond rankings. As the Australian Open approaches, anticipation will be intense. The first match will feel heavier than any she's played before. Cameras will zoom in. Commentators will reference Graf. Social media will explode with every point. This is where all the talk meets reality. Tennis is brutally honest. There are no shortcuts once the ball is in play. But if Alexandra's past tells us anything, it's that she doesn't shy away from moments like this. She leans into them. She has already shown an ability to elevate when eyes are watching. And now she does so with the knowledge that her foundation is secure. That her family is safe. That her mentor believes in her. That her path is clear. Doubters will exist. They always do. Some will argue that expectations can suffocate talent. Others will claim the praise arrived too early. But greatness has never waited for unanimous approval. Every era-defining player faced skepticism before dominance silenced it. Alex Eala has already crossed the threshold from promise to possibility. What comes next will be determined by her resilience, her health, and her continued hunger. All signs point to a competitor who understands that this is only the beginning. When people look back years from now, this Christmas Eve will stand out. Not because of one purchase or one quote, but because of what it represented. A young woman honoring her roots. A legend recognizing truth. A sport reminded of its soul. Alexandra Eala didn't just win matches in 2025. She won respect. She won belief. She won a place in the conversation about the future of tennis. And that future is now unfolding in real time. The brightest diamond doesn't shine by accident. It is shaped, pressured, and revealed. And right now, under the brightest lights the sport can offer, Alexandra Eala is beginning to shine exactly as promised.